I was still sharp enough to handle my own life when Karen, the HOA president, screamed across the street, "That's not your car." I froze halfway out of my garage, my old Buick Regal parked exactly where it had been for decades. She jabbed her finger at me like I just robbed a bank. Before I could explain, she already had her phone out, dialing 911. Her voice carried, shrill and commanding, calling me a thief, accusing me of stealing my own car. The neighbors gathered, watching. My cheeks burned, my chest pounded. I wanted to scream, but I just stood there, trapped in shame and disbelief. Before we continue, please drop a like and comment below with your country and what time it is right now where you're watching. Whether it's sunrise in Australia, midnight in New York, afternoon in Canada, or evening in France, I want to know. Don't just sit back, tell me where in the world you are. Now, let's dive into the story. Sirens echoed in the distance. My hands shook as if I were already guilty. I had paperwork inside, but would anyone even listen before slapping cuffs on me? Karen smirked, confident, whispering to a neighbor. I couldn't hear the words, but I saw the grin. Something darker lived behind her accusation, and I felt it. The squad car screeched to a stop. 2 officers stepped out, hands near their belts, eyes sharp. "Sir, step away from the vehicle," one ordered. I tried to speak. "This is my car. I bought it in '82. But Karen shouted louder, drowning me out, calling me a liar, a criminal. The officers approached. My heart hammered like a war drum. The whole block stared. Then one officer leaned close and said, "We'll need proof, sir." My mouth went dry. I nodded slowly, already sensing this wasn't just about a car. Something bigger lurked beneath Karen's poisonous words, waiting to be exposed. Years earlier, moving into the neighborhood, I thought this place would be peace. But from day one, Karen controlled everything: grass length, mailbox paint, even where trash cans should sit. She wore her title like a crown. "HOA keeps our property values high," she'd bark at meetings. Folks nodded, some fearful, some indifferent. I stayed quiet, never wanting trouble. But Karen noticed everything. She disliked me from the start. My long garage hours fixing engines, my refusal to gossip at gatherings, it made me stand apart, a target. One afternoon she cornered me, asking why I had so many cars. I explained I bought them cheap, fixed them up, sometimes sold them. She sneered like I was dirty. Her jealousy grew after I restored the Regal. It gleamed under the sun, a piece of my youth preserved. But to her, it was another reason to dig claws. Rumors followed, neighbors whispering that I ran illegal deals. I laughed it off, until I noticed looks linger longer, eyes filled with suspicion. Seeds of doubt had been planted. Still, I ignored her. Life was too short for pettiness. But Karen thrived on it, like gasoline on fire, and she waited for her perfect strike. The day I opened my garage, she seized it. Her call wasn't random, it was years of resentment, finally weaponized against me in public, with flashing lights as her stage. As police inspected my car, my mind wandered back to every sideways glance, every sneer, every whisper. Maybe she'd been building this case longer than I realized. I told myself, if this escalates, I must be ready. Because Karen wasn't just a neighbor. She was a predator, and I was her chosen prey. The officers led me to the sidewalk. "Do you have registration?" one asked. My voice cracked as I said yes, hurrying inside to grab the worn folder from my desk. Neighbors leaned over fences, whispering. Karen smirked with folded arms, acting like queen of the block. "He's been hiding things for years," she told an officer. My blood boiled. I returned, shaking, holding my documents. The officer inspected them carefully. Karen interrupted. "Fake. He forged those. Ask him where he really got that car." My fists clenched, nails digging. The younger cop frowned. "Sir, the VIN on this car doesn't match the one on your papers." My knees almost buckled. What? My Regal, my pride, wasn't matching records? Karen gasped loudly, playing the crowd. "See, I told you. He's part of a ring." The words hung heavy, more dangerous than bullets. The block buzzed with judgment. I swallowed hard. "Officer, I bought that car from a dealer in Alabama years ago. Paid cash. Been mine ever since. But their eyes held doubt, not trust. They asked me to step aside as they called it in. My ears rang, like the world had shrunk into whispers and static. I suddenly felt 70, fragile, disposable. Karen's grin stretched wider, victory painted across her face. Check his garage, she urged. You'll find more. My chest tightened. What if she planted something? What if she lied? The officer nodded, walking toward my garage. My breath caught. Years of tools, parts, memories, it was about to become evidence. My past was suddenly on trial. And for the first time, I wondered, had I been set up long before this day even arrived? The officers scanned my garage, flashlights cutting through the shadows. Shelves of tools, bins of bolts, and old photographs hung on the wall, memories, not crimes. Still, their faces stayed hard. Karen shouted from outside, check under the tarps. He hides cars. My heart sank. Yes, under those tarps were 2 more vehicles. Projects I'd been restoring quietly, privately. The officer lifted a corner. A rusty Ford frame sat lifeless, waiting for love. Another tarp revealed a Camaro shell. Harmless relics, but suddenly they looked suspicious under cold light. Karen cackled. Told you. Whole operation. Neighbors gasped. My ears burned. Every innocent hobby now looked like criminal evidence. Even the smell of oil felt guilty in that moment. The younger officer radioed dispatch, reading Vince. I prayed they'd clear. My chest ached with every passing second, sweat trickling down my neck like guilt. Then, silence. The officer turned. Sir, these vehicles are flagged. Reported stolen out of Texas. My heart dropped to the floor. My vision blurred. Stolen? Karen gasped theatrically, clutching her pearls like a stage actress. What kind of man lives among us, stealing from hardworking families? Her poison worked, infecting every eye on me. I raised my hands. I bought them fair, cheap from out-of-state dealers. Didn't know. I swear. But words sounded weak, broken. Truth felt smaller than lies that day. The officers exchanged glances. We'll need to take these in for investigation. My whole world, my years of tinkering, suddenly reduced to evidence. My soul cracked open. Karen smiled, satisfied. But deep inside, a spark of defiance whispered, this wasn't the end. Not yet. They didn't arrest me that night, but they towed my cars. My driveway looked naked, hollow. Neighbors avoided my eyes, whispering like I was contagious. Shame weighed heavier than steel. I sat at my kitchen table, papers spread, trying to prove what I knew, receipts, bills, phone numbers scribbled from decades ago. Everything was real. But would anyone believe me? Karen strutted around the block like a hero. She told anyone who'd listen that she protected the neighborhood from criminals. Her story grew louder, while mine shrank to silence. One evening my friend Lester knocked. He'd lived nearby for 40 years. Elias, he said, I know you. You're no thief. But something stinks here. Too convenient. His words lit a fire. Maybe Karen wasn't just nosy. Maybe she was part of something bigger, feeding lies to protect her own secrets. The thought chilled me. I remembered the way she pushed officers to check under tarps. Almost like she knew exactly what would be found. How could she know? Unless she'd been watching closely. The next morning, I visited the police impound. The officer shrugged. Cars flagged. Investigators will review. His indifference pierced me. I was just another old man on a list. But as I left, I overheard 2 officers. More of these cars keep popping up, same states, Texas, Alabama. Someone's moving stolen inventory across borders. My heart leapt. A ring. Maybe my cars were pawns in a larger game. And maybe, just maybe, Karen's smile was hiding far more than neighborhood pride. The truth was there, buried under her lies. I just needed to dig. Determined, I checked my garage cameras. I'd installed them years ago after tools went missing. Most neighbors didn't know, they thought old men forget things. But I'd been smarter than that. I scrolled through footage. Weeks earlier, grainy shapes appeared, Two men unloading parts into my garage while I slept. My chest froze. They had keys. They'd planted things. My hands shook as I zoomed. The figures wore hoodies, but one voice slipped through. Boss, familiar. Hurry, before morning. He won't notice. My stomach turned. Karen. I replayed it over and over. Her voice clear as church bells. She'd been inside my garage. She'd staged the crime. She was framing me deliberately. I saved clips, copied them to a USB. But proof alone wasn't enough. I needed witnesses. Someone else who'd seen her without fear of her wrath. That evening, I knocked on Lester's door. Showed him the footage. His jaw dropped. Lord Almighty, Elias, this is it. She's setting you up. We can fight this. He mentioned something strange. Karen's nephew always drove flashy cars, out-of-state plates, gone within weeks. Never seen insurance stickers. Never saw titles. A pattern forming, sharp as glass. Could Karen be part of a bigger stolen car operation? Could her HOA power just be cover for a darker empire? My blood ran cold. I decided then, I wouldn't just clear my name. I'd take her entire scheme down, piece by poisonous piece. And for the first time in weeks, I felt alive again. Lester and I visited neighbors quietly. Some rolled eyes, but a few whispered truths. Karen's nephew offered us a car once, cheap. Said paperwork would come later. Patterns grew undeniable. Another neighbor, Rosa, admitted she saw strange trucks unloading at night. Didn't want trouble, she said, trembling. Fear of Karen's power kept lips sealed until now. We gathered testimonies, shaky but real. Each one painted Karen not as protector, but as predator, using her position to mask a trafficking scheme in plain sight. The USB footage became our anchor. But I needed official backing. So I contacted Detective Harmon, a seasoned officer I'd met years before at church picnics. He still remembered me. Harmon studied the evidence, eyebrows knitting tight. Elias, this is bigger than HOA nonsense. Texas has open cases on stolen cars. Alabama too. You may have cracked something here. My chest swelled, not with pride, but relief. Finally, someone listened. Someone believed. But Harmon warned, she won't go quietly. People like her dig claws deep before falling. That night, Karen knocked on my door. Smile tight, eyes sharp. Hope you're comfortable, she hissed. Police will be back soon. Her voice carried threat, like a knife under skin. I held steady. Funny, I said. I've been watching footage. Cameras don't lie. Her face twitched just for a second. Enough to confirm she knew I knew. The war wasn't over. But the battleground had shifted. And this time, I wasn't alone. Detective Harmon launched an investigation quietly. Officers tracked Karen's nephew, watching his late-night drives. Sure enough, stolen vehicles surfaced across county lines, VINs scratched, titles forged. One night, surveillance caught Karen herself, clipboard in hand, checking shipments. It was no HOA duty. It was business, dirty and dangerous. The mask was cracking. Meanwhile, Harmon advised me to stay calm, act normal. But Karen pressed harder, spreading lies about me, trying to turn the block against me before truth surfaced. Still, whispers of doubt grew. Lester shared my footage discreetly. Neighbors who once glared now looked at Karen differently, suspicion creeping into their faces like morning light breaking fog. Then came the raid. Police swarmed a warehouse her nephew rented. Dozens of stolen cars inside, traced back to Texas and Alabama. Fraudulent titles scattered like confetti. The scheme unraveled. Karen's shrieks echoed through the street as officers cuffed her. She screamed at me, "This is your fault. You ruined everything." Her mask finally torn away. Neighbors watched silently, realizing the hero they worshipped was a thief in pearls. Some gasped, some wept. The block felt different that night. Heavier, yet strangely free. Detective Harmon patted my shoulder. You started this. Without you, they'd still be moving cars. Tears stung my old eyes. Vindication never felt so heavy. But the story wasn't finished yet. Karen wasn't just facing accusations, she was about to face judgment. The courtroom buzzed. Karen sat stiff in her tailored suit, eyes blazing hate. Her nephew slouched beside her, chains rattling. I sat quietly in back, heart pounding. The prosecutor displayed my footage, neighbors' testimonies, and stacks of forged titles. Jurors gasped as the story unfolded, not of a cranky HOA president, but a thief orchestrating multi-state fraud. Karen's lawyer tried painting me as senile, confused. 80 years old, he sneered. But the evidence crushed his words like brittle leaves. The truth had weight, lies scattered like dust. Witness after witness described shady offers, nighttime trucks, whispered deals. Rosa cried on the stand, describing fear. Lester spoke firmly, pointing at Karen. She used us all. Karen finally testified, venom dripping. This is revenge. He's hated me for years. But the jury saw through her act. Her power was gone, replaced by desperation. When the verdict came, guilty on multiple counts of fraud and trafficking, the air thickened with finality. Karen collapsed, screaming, "No! I built this community." Her nephew glared at me, lips curling into threats. But the bailiff dragged him away. For once, his swagger vanished, replaced with fear of iron bars. The judge's gavel struck. 10 years prison. Karen's crown shattered. The block's tyrant was gone. And in that echo, I finally breathed again. Now, decades later, I sit on my porch 80 years old, watching the sun dip low. Kids ride bikes freely, laughter replacing whispers. The neighborhood healed, scarred but stronger. I think about Karen sometimes. How power poisoned her, how lies consumed her until truth burned everything down. She wanted control but ended with chains. The Regal was returned eventually, polished by evidence, cleared of doubt. I still drive it on Sundays, the engine humming like resilience itself. It reminds me survival isn't quiet, it roars. Neighbors respect me now. Some apologize for doubting. I forgive, mostly. Fear makes cowards of good people. I understand that better than ever. But what stays with me isn't revenge, it's the fragility of trust. One phone call nearly destroyed me. One lie almost rewrote my whole life. And yet, truth won. Not fast, not easy, but steady. Like the hum of that Buick on an open Texas road, carrying an old man who refused to bow. So if you ask me about that day, when Karen called 911 over my garage, I'll smile sadly. Because it wasn't just about a car. It was about justice, finally arriving. And justice, when it comes, is louder than any siren. This true story shows how HOA Karen calls 911 on neighbor, HOA president abuse of power caught on camera, Karen HOA drama with police, HOA president gone wrong in Texas, Karen HOA neighbor dispute escalating, Karen HOA confrontation over garage, Karen HOA fraud investigation exposed, HOA Karen gets arrested, HOA Karen busted in court, and Karen HOA story with a shocking twist can all remind us how truth always finds its way through lies.